So why is it, being that you are an entrepreneur and you service and help and educate other entrepreneurs, why is the entrepreneurship game something that we all should at the very least consider?
Yeah, I love that you brought that up because again, I'm not telling everybody to go quit their job and start their business, but I say this all the time. There's no excuse for you not to have at least to have a side hustle, right? Because whatever your job is willing to pay you from 9 to 5, somebody else will pay you from 5 to 9. So whether you're a website developer, a coach, a lawyer, like whatever you do, whatever you're paid from your 9 to 5, somebody else will pay you to do that same task, that same skill from 5 to 9. And once you start making money outside of work, the tax savings, the doors open wide up, and then you can now begin to embark on this amazing tax saving strategy. Because most people don't know this, but the tax code was made to benefit entrepreneurs and investors. So if you're not on the right team, you're not going to be able to win. So I'll tell everybody, at least get the side hustle, and then all of these amazing tax saving strategies that we're going to talk about today are going to be relevant and applicable to you.
Why? Why is it skewed that way? We've said it, you said it, books have said it. Why is the tax code set up for entrepreneurs and investors to win?
Well, it's simple because we do what the IRS wants us to do. So as a business owner, right, entrepreneur, we're creating jobs for in the economy. Therefore, the government does not have to go create new jobs because we're creating jobs for them. So we're doing what they want us to do. From an investment standpoint, we're building the economy with our funds. We're buying real estate. We're investing in stocks so these bigger companies can use this and deploy this capital to grow more and therefore stimulate the American economy. So again, the tax code has incentives, and they say, hey, if you do what we tell you to do, we'll give you tax breaks, right? And we're going to talk about some of those today, but that's the baseline. Entrepreneurs and investors do what the government wants them to do, and again, the government doesn't have to step in because we are kind of taking lead on getting those things done.
Yeah. Now, for the record, you're not an Instagram CPA. You're a real one. All right. You classically trained, got the degrees and certificates and all that to show for it. Now, how tough was this for you mentally? Let's talk about mentally before we talk about anything in the real world, to make this mental shifts, because you had a tough upbringing, but you used the circumstances that you went through to kind of fortify you to, quote unquote, make something out of yourself. And you followed the yellow brick road. You went to school, got the degree, worked for a major accounting firm, had the job, the career path that I guess the standards would say you won the game, right? But then you found yourself, after quote unquote winning the game that you thought you were playing well, that you needed to make a shift. Because some people are listening and, man, they got these thoughts about entrepreneurship, but they're like, man, I went to school for such and such, and I'm working in this field. I may not be the happiest, but I'm doing better than such and such. I'm doing better than cousin Jimmy and cousin Jane, and my kids are eating. And there's a level of comfortability that comes when you feel like you won that game that makes it hard to shift and see something different, something grander that could possibly be through entrepreneurship. So talk about you and the shift that you had to make between the years first.
Yeah, that's a great question as well. So I'll be the first to say there was not an entrepreneur bone in my body, right? As you know my story, losing both my parents early on, it made me so risk averse because I didn't have a plan B. So for me, it was like, follow the path that's going to get you to security, because that's the thing I lacked my entire childhood. So, I had the Big Four accounting job. I was making good money, making more than my parents ever did. But there's something interesting about the brain. Once you understand something, you can't unlearn it. Once you see something, you can't unsee it. So I don't know if I shared the story last time, but the reason that really pushed me into entrepreneurship is I was living with my cousin, and he was been an entrepreneur his whole life, and I was going to work. I was doing the work thing, and then he came in my room one day and asked me like, "Hey, cuz, what's today?" And I'm like, "It's Tuesday." And he's like, "Oh man, I thought it was Saturday." And I'm like, "Bro, like, you're a grown man. How don't you know what day of the week it is? Like, you came all the way to my room to ask me this question?" Like, and then I'm like, "How don't you know what days of the week it is?" And he paused for a second. He was like, "Well, I guess because I love what I do every day, the days of the week don't really matter to me." And then he goes back to his room and goes back to sleep. So it drops this bomb on me as I'm about to go to a job I'm not happy at. And it got me thinking, like, is there really a life that we can live, that we wake up most days and do what we love to do. So it really, I couldn't unsee that lesson. And then once I learned about the tax implications about being an entrepreneur, that was all I needed. Because believe it or not, the CPA exam does not teach you entrepreneurial accounting. It teaches you baseline accounting so you can work for companies. So I had to learn about the different tax write-offs and things that entrepreneurs get. So once I understood that, the writing was on the wall and I was out the door.
Man, good stuff. Now, we're here to talk about going into business with your spouse and why it might be beneficial for someone to go into business, not just with themselves, but with their spouse. So what made you kind of do this digging and this research and kind of put this information together? Were you having clients that were like asking similar questions over and over again?
You know what's crazy? Actually, after our last podcast that we did, just looking at you all, what you and Ty have, and the amazing work that you all are doing, I started doing a little bit of digging on, is there, good tax implications for going into business with your spouse? So thank you, first of all, for helping me dive into this topic. And like you said, I also had clients that had this issue. So I was like, let me see if there's any, really good advantages from going into business with your spouse. And I found a bunch. So I got to thinking, like, people need to know that going into business with your spouse can have some amazing advantages in your favor if you know what they are.
Okay. So let's talk about it then. What is the first thing that we should consider that we may not realize is a benefit to going into business with your spouse?
Okay. So one thing, and this is really relevant for like today, because due to COVID, right, the IRS, again, remember that incentive system, the restaurants were getting destroyed. The restaurant industry was getting hit, like, they had to lay off workers and things like that. So the IRS again said, we want you all to do stuff. And if you follow what we say, we'll give you enhanced tax deduction. So they doubled the dining out deduction of what used to be 50%. Now it's 100% tax deductible if you have a business meal. So what does that mean for you and your listeners? That means that if you own a business with your spouse and you all go on dates and you all talk about business at the dinner table, you can therefore get a 100% tax deduction for that business meal. So we had a couple clients do this. They would go out to have a powwow once or twice a week, go and have a nice dinner, it'll better their relationship. But now they're getting 100% tax deductible meals for discussing the same business that they would have discussed in the bedroom, but they're now discussing it across a nice meal, and they're getting a 100% tax deduction for it.
Man, that's super dope. So like, to keep it, keep it clean, how much business should we talk? So say we were there for an hour. Is it a time thing? Is it a or overwhelming amount of the conversation was business related? Or what do you tell people, your clients, I should say, to make sure that they keep it squeaky clean to make all this work?
Yeah, as you know, documentation is important, and we want to be smart, not greedy. So I say a few things. Number one, just approach the dinner table with a specific business conversation that you want to have. Right. So today we're going to sit down. We're going to, we're going to discuss our social media strategy. Cool. Right. It doesn't matter how long the conversation has to be. Did you get the goal accomplished of coming up with that new social media strategy? So I say come to the dinner table with a topic. And then and for me, it's all about documentation. So there are 5 things that you need to document to properly write off your business meals. And the good news is that 3 of those is already on the receipt. So the 5 things are the place you went to dinner, so the location, which is on the receipt, the amount of money that the dinner costs, which is also on the receipt, and then the date that you decided to go. So all these things are on the receipt, and all you have to do on the back of the receipt is put the person that you went to dinner with, who's your spouse, and then what business conversation was discussed. If you have these 5 things, you take a picture, put it in your QuickBooks software, you are good to go.
So everything was clear. So with the receipt, I could take a picture of it and store it in QuickBooks just in case.
Yeah, because I don't want to keep paper receipts anymore, right? That was like the thing in the 1980s. So I try to encourage people to digitize their documentation. So with softwares like QuickBooks, FreshBooks, whatever software you want to use, simply take a picture, document it, and now you, again, 100%, not 50%, 100% business meals. And this is only going to be available for the next 2 years. So in the end of 2022. So I encourage people to go and have as many business deductible meals as you can before while the getting is good.
All right. Now, does that apply to only restaurants? Because you said, we're in a COVID world. Can I order Uber Eats and sit at the table and have the same conversation and get the same thing, or must it be going out to a restaurant?
Yeah, so the IRS rules is you have to go out to the restaurant. It has to be prepared food. So like you can't go to the grocery store, right, and then grab stuff and cook it at home. Like it has to be prepared food. But you can go to the grocery store and get in one of those lines where they make you a sandwich, right? Because that's a prepared meal. So the rule is that you have to leave the house and go to the establishment, get the food, and you don't have to eat it there, but it has to be prepared food. It has to be prepared food. Or if you have an office, you can get the food delivered to your office, not your home office, your actual office space. You eat it there. Then the meals are also deductible for you, your spouse, and also your employees if you have any.
That's a good point. Now, a lot of people are home-based businesses. So he said it has to be an office that's not inside your house in order for that particular angle to be used. Man, this is good advice. All right. So we got number 1 knocked out. What's the next tip that you got for us, Carter?
I love it. So the fun thing about these tips is that it's actually bettering your relationship, right? So I don't know if you and Ty like to travel, but I love to travel, right? I spent 6 weeks in Medellin, Colombia for my birthday, and if I could be, as long as I could be out the country, I'm going somewhere. So the second point is how to write off, as the kids call it, vacations, right? You go on a vacation with your spouse or your bae, and now there are ways that you can turn this personal vacation into a business travel expense. Now, can I break this down for your listeners?
Yes.
Okay. Please do. So if you were to go, let's say you were going somewhere for the weekend, Saturday or Sunday, it was a personal vacation. That is not tax deductible because that's a personal trip. There's nothing to do with IRS. That is a personal trip. But if you all find business activity in that location, and I would encourage you to travel on Friday and leave on Monday versus going there on Saturday and leave on Sunday. And I'll tell you the reason why in a second. So if you travel somewhere, you find business activity. Now, business activity is such a wide range of things. You all can go to a workshop, go to a conference. Like, I just saw you at FinCon, right? You can take a potential client out to dinner or a current client out to dinner, right? That constitutes as business activity. That way you get the meals and the travel. So all you do is find business activity in that destination on Friday and in that destination on Monday. And the IRS doesn't care what you do over the weekend. They will allow you to write off the full cost of the flights, the full cost of lodging, even the lodging over the weekend, and the meals that you have while you're on vacation. So this is just a really easy way to turn a personal trip into a business trip. And let's say you don't want to travel on the weekend. If you're going to go Monday through Friday, as long as you find business activity each of those days, or work at least 4 hours a day, because in IRS ordinance, 4 hours a day constitutes as a full workday.
4 hours is a
4 hours is a workday for the IRS. So
Wow.
if you all go out there, shoot some content for 2 hours, chop it up for 2 hours, that's your workday. And now you're getting paid to travel, shoot some amazing content with your spouse, and the IRS deems it as business trip.
Okay, now I'm taking my.
I see you thinking.
Hold on, man.
I see your brain spinning.
I got cameras, I got microphones, and I got suitcases. Okay.
I love it.